Hi, my name is Sophia and I'm doing my presentation on the domestic violence problem in the United States. 1 in 3 women have experienced some sort of domestic violence abuse, whether that be physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. And an even more scary and shocking statistic is that 1.3 million of these survivors/victims end up never reporting the abuse. The problem is that too many women suffer from domestic violence relationships. The average age that a woman experiences this kind of relationship is from the ages 18 to 24. This is scary because that's the average age that someone is just getting out of high school and going into college. So if you took a room filled with 30 college girls, then every third girl would have experienced some sort of domestic violence abuse. And that's scary because that could be your sister, your friend, somebody you know, or even the girl that's next to you in class. So Social Solutions says, domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. That's scary because that is a lot of women that have experienced this abuse, and a lot of them end up never reporting it. This leads to my second problem, that too many women never report their abuse. A lot of the reasons women never report their abuse is they're either scared of their abuser, there's never action taken against the abuser, or they don't want to have to go through the trauma of reporting their abuser. Studies show that 1 in 3 women injured during a domestic violence incident will never receive medical care for their injuries. This is because they don't want to go to the hospital because they don't want to have to report the abuse. This means that not only are they being abused, but they're not receiving the proper care for those injuries. Another statistic is that only 21% of female victims disclose their victimization to a doctor or nurse. That means that a lot of abuse isn't reported. This is bad because if the abuse isn't reported, then there's no way to stop the problem. And my third problem is that too many abusers are never held accountable for their actions. A lot of abusers are either let off because the abuse is never reported, there's not enough evidence against it, or they have money to get bailed out and they continue to abuse and manipulate. Studies said that the 16% arrest rate for violation of no contact orders and 14% arrest rate for a new felony offense. So this means that out of the people that were caught and went to jail or prison for that matter, when they got out, 16% of them were rearrested for violating no contact orders, which is like an order of protection, which means they can't be in contact with the victim, and 14% arrest rate for a new felony offense, which means a felony charge of either domestic violence or some other charge. Personally, I relate to this because I had a friend back in February who had this happen to her, and when she called the cops because her boyfriend ended up choking her until she passed out, the cop was kind of persuading her not to press charges. He was saying, well, if you do press charges, he's gonna go to jail and this and that, so she ended up not pressing charges. This goes back to the problem that 1, too many women are abused, 2, too many women never report it because of instances like that, and 3, men aren't held accountable for their actions, so they continue to abuse. My friend ended up pressing charges, and her abuser only got 60 days in jail. That may sound like a lot, but for someone who physically choked another person out, that's not really, I would say, fair justice, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of abusers always get away with this, because they get light sentences or they don't get any sentences at all, and they continue to keep doing and abusing. So one of the biggest solutions is report it. If you see it, if you hear your friend talking about something that they went through, or even a stranger, report it. The more that you report it, the more that the chances that something can be done about it. Also, educate yourself and others that there is help out there if they are going through something like that. There are many counseling services that you can even go for free if you've been through something like that. There's domestic violence survivor homes if you live with that person and you can't financially support yourself. And there's also hotlines. Also, what you can do is support someone in a domestic violence relationship. Domestic violence relationships are really hard to leave because with that person, they're very controlling and manipulating, so it's really hard for that person to leave. Also, stand up to an abuser. If you can safely intervene, then stand up to that person and get that girl out of that situation. If you can't, call the cops. Also, educate yourself on abuse and the signs of it so you can protect yourself or a friend who's going through it. Lastly, I want you to visualize that how good the outcome would be if you just reported the abuse. You can do it anonymously too. You can call the cops and do it anonymously. But if you help and report that abuse, then you can help put a stop to it. It's not always guaranteed because every circumstance is different, but you could aid in helping that. So I challenge you to speak up, step in, and educate yourself on abuse. If you see it, report it. If you see someone treating someone in a relationship and they're abusing them, whether it's physically, mentally, or sexually, speak up about it. If you can safely intervene, then I recommend stepping in and intervening. And the best thing and the easiest thing you can do is just educate yourself. Know the signs of abuse so one, you don't get caught in an abusive domestic violence relationship, and two, so you can help someone else get out of that relationship.